Hey everybody, welcome to the Abroaders Travel Podcast, your weekly meetup with thousands of entrepreneurs, hustlers, creators, nomads, ninjas, wanderers, and world changers, all seeking to build the skills and connections to live a life without borders. If you want to learn more about what we do or download our entire podcast archive, check out the website, abroaders.com.
Happy Wednesday morning and welcome to another episode of the Abroaders Podcast. I'm AJ here with Eric, and today we're going to talk about booking last-minute travel. Depending on how spontaneous you are, booking last-minute travel can be really exciting, really stressful, or a bit of both. Today we're going to cover how to use your frequent flyer miles in the most effective fashion for last-minute travel, as well as some other alternatives to award travel if you are forced to buy a last-minute flight. Check out the show notes at abroaders.com/last minute. How's it going, dude?
Going great. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice day here in Barcelona. I just got settled, so I'm pretty happy right now. It's the first time in a couple of weeks that I haven't been living out of a backpack. Life is good.
Yeah, man, that's definitely a good feeling to get set up in a place, actually unpack some stuff. It's fun to hop around, but where we're at with our business, trying to get a lot of work done, it's nice to be settled in.
Yeah, it's nice to, just get everything, even though I don't have enough to even come close to filling up a closet, just to take it out of a backpack and not have to unwrinkle everything every time I want to go somewhere. It's a pretty nice extra benefit. I also found some really, really good roommates here in Barcelona. Got pretty lucky and was able to kind of leverage a few online communities, was talking to people on Facebook, a little bit on the Dynamite Circle forum as well before I got here. So definitely paid off big time for me to have some communication lines open with people that were already living here. By the time I got back to Barcelona after my trip to the coast, I pretty much had a place to move into right away. So definitely really cut down on the extra effort of having to search around for an apartment for the first few days.
Nice, man. Who have you met up with? Isn't Brills in Barcelona right now?
Yeah, he just got into town. I actually met up with Scott and a couple of other location independent folks I haven't met before. One of them was actually one of the right-hand guys for Chris Guillebeau when he was building the travel hacking cartel, which is somewhat similar to what we're doing, although a lot simpler in the sense they just kind of send out alerts and leave everything else to you to figure it out. But it's still a very cool service, and it was really interesting to meet Mickey because he played a really key role in getting that up off the ground. And so it was interesting to talk travel hacking with him and kind of see where he's moved on since working on that project. So yeah, good times all around. I think Brills is in town for a couple of weeks before going off to another crazy adventure. A few other people got to meet up with Elmag, who you and I hung out with last year in Berlin, and he's still doing well also. It's been a good crowd here so far.
That doesn't surprise me, man. Almag's a great guy. Man, my life is much more uninteresting than yours right now. I had such a typical American male in the 20 to 60-year-old age range weekend. I watched college football all day Saturday, got my heart broken by the Spartans, made a couple key mistakes. It just blew that game open. Your alma mater did not look too hot against.
I couldn't. I saw the score, but God, yeah, doesn't look like
man.
It's going to be any good this year.
Yeah. Not pretty, but I did go to Monday Night Football last night, avenged some folks in Michigan. The Detroit Lions did get the win. And for those of you that don't know, Detroit Lions, that has been one of the most frustrating franchises to follow in the history of professional sports. So things are on the uptick. So the city is walking tall today after that win.
Glad to hear, man. All right, let's get into some last-minute award stuff.
Yes, getting back to topic, what's the most last minute you've ever gotten with booking an award? How close have you cut it? Or how spontaneous have you been?
That's a good question. I think I've been a little bit of a coward. Some of these programs, as we're going to talk about today, you can even book sometimes same-day flights. I haven't quite cut it that close. I think probably the closest one would be a trip to New York City, a one-way on British Airways. So I was able to skip the fee, and I remember the cash prices being pretty high, but I booked that less than a week out, so maybe 3 or 4 days in advance, and ended up paying $2.50 for a one-way from Detroit to New York City.
That's a pretty good return, man. All right, let's move into some other news and updates.
One quick note for some of you foreign folks. This is actually an offer that's open to everybody, but probably more relevant for you folks down under in Australia. Qantas is offering a double miles promo. There's a little bit of a time constraint here. You got to book your tickets in the next 2 days. So that's before September 12th. But it's valid on flights all the way through the end of February of 2015. So you've got quite a long window to actually complete that travel. So if you're looking at already booking Qantas flight anyways, definitely register because you have to link your frequent flyer account to the promo to get the double miles. It's a 2-second process to do. So if you're going to fly them, definitely take a look at that. Kind of a slim news week so far. Not a lot of new offers going on.
Wasn't there an article you picked up on people picking up flight attendants on Maxim?
Oh, yeah, we should definitely link to that. So we were talking about this before the show a little bit. There was an article in Maxim on how to seduce a flight attendant. So we'll link that over if you guys are interested in some entertainment value reading. Have you ever seen any of that going on, man? Anybody on any of your flights been successful with that?
I've never seen any success with an actual flight attendant. I've definitely seen some pathetic fat old men being extra nice to them and hitting on them, but that really hasn't gotten them anywhere. I did, however, see, and you were sleeping on this flight. This was the red eye from Indo to Malaysia. There's a gentleman that took full advantage of what he believed was everyone being asleep with his seatmate, a young lady. And I don't think he was aware that anyone was awake, but he seemed to have some success pushing the limits on a, commercial airline.
I know what happens, man. I did have one crew member of my Sao Paulo flight coming back from Brazil this year kind of be pretty open about what they had, witnessed or talked about with other crew members actually hooking up with passengers. So apparently it happens in some cases. Maybe you just got to have good airline game. Anyways, if you're interested in some simple tips to improve your chances, check out the Maxim article over in the show notes page. And again, that's at abroaders.com/lastminute.
At least, try to deploy a little charm for a drink. I actually did have some success with the flight attendant. I wasn't really hitting on her, but I did get rewarded for being friendly. There was some lady that just had to have the window seat for some reason. It wasn't a good reason, but she just was making a big scene about it. And so I volunteered my seat up, and the flight attendant came over to me and was just flowing the Jack Daniels to me the entire flight for free. So that was pretty cool, but that was less me being charming and more just being nice.
Yeah, hey, always nice to have somebody give you a little payback if you're trying to make their life easier. They make your flight a little nicer. Never ever backfires to try and be a nice person. So, all right, a couple more things I want to make sure we cover. There is a hotel promo. As you guys know, we mostly focus on flights, but I wanted to just give a shout out to this because it's a targeted offer for their fall promotion. This is IHG Hotels Group. That's Intercontinental Hotel Group. Right now, you have to log into the website. We're going to put the link in the show notes. And if you enter your account number, it will show you what your specific offer is. And so for me, I got kind of a weak offer. There's like 5 different things that I needed to do to get it. I was able to earn like up to 10,000 points and possibly a couple of free nights. But for some people, the offer can be really, really strong and the requirements can be a little bit less than what I was going to have to do. So definitely check it out. The free nights are set up so that you can book them anywhere in the world, any IHG properties, which includes some pretty baller places. Crown Plazas are in their portfolio and a couple other really nice luxury hotels. So if you go for the promo, max it out and earn those 2 free nights, you're probably going to have an opportunity to stay in some pretty awesome properties. So definitely check it out. It takes 2 minutes to see what you're offered.
Cool, man. All right, a little bit of stuff on the credit card front. That Delta 50K offer that is done. Another one, the United 55,000 point sign up. There were some rumblings about that link being alive. I think there's still one link that was working for that, but that is no longer active. So right now it appears that offer is down to 30K. But it never hurts to check out, your favorite travel hacking blog to see if any of these offers pop up, or if there's a link alive. What Eric and I try to do with our premium services, just avoid ever relying on a mistake. We try to get those notifications out to our customers in time while the offer is still alive, so we don't have to rely on an airline or a bank's incompetence for having a link floating around.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I guess the key takeaway here for you guys is just because it says it's going to end on a specific date doesn't mean it does. For example, there's still that Southwest offer that was supposed to end in the spring that's still working just fine. So sometimes the banks just don't care. They say it's going to end and they leave the link for a few people to go find. But, most of the time, try and plan around the deadline so that you make sure you don't miss it. I actually was able to get in on that Delta business card just last night. It was actually already expired as far as my time zone, but fortunately the link was on Eastern time, and at about 4 a.m. I was able to hop in there and get us an extra 50,000 Sky Miles with the Sky Miles business card. Definitely a big win there.
Good stuff, man. And the next one would be there's a new city business offer that's 50K. It's normally around 30,000 points. So that's a pretty good jump, an extra 20K from the normal offer of 30K. And this is also something that is great to combine with that personal platinum select card.
Yeah, also from Citibank. The key thing here is with Citibank, you can't get away with 2 personal applications on the same day. You used to, but you can't anymore. So if you're going to try and apply for 2 cards from Citi, you want to do a business and a personal. And this is the first time in quite some time that there's been this many points on the table by combining a couple of 50K offers. So definitely worth checking out. Both of them are 3,000 minimum spend in 90 days. Take a look at abroaders.com/cards or the show notes for this episode, and we'll have all the best links that we know about up there for you guys to check out.
Yeah, just a quick public service announcement to everyone. How Eric was talking about applying for those cards on the same day. Please do remember that that's a good way to protect your credit is when you're going to go for a churn or you're going to apply for some cards, do them all on the same day.
Great. Good tip, buddy. So one other little logistics thing I wanted to cover. I had some success with annual fees last night. I kind of had a binge on conversations with the banks last evening. And so I wanted to share what happened because we get a lot of questions about this. It's very, very possible to pay less than 10% or 20% of the annual fees that you have all your cards open because banks are really, really interested in keeping you as a customer. So I was looking through our banking and saw that the Delta SkyMiles personal card from Amex, this is a card I've had since 2008, and almost every year I get the fee waived or get some sort of bonus. And I called them up this time, and they weren't willing to waive the annual fee or give me a statement credit, and they also weren't able to give me any bonus points. So this was the first time I think that had actually happened where they weren't really offering me anything. And so I went to Plan B, and it's really important that you guys know about this. So if they won't do that, number one, you want to move your credit line away from that card. Move it to a different account with that bank if you can, because you don't want to close the card to avoid the annual fee and also close down a big credit line because that's going to hurt your score. So I asked about that and they said yes, they could move my line of credit to a different card. But then I also asked them if there was a way that they could downgrade the Delta SkyMiles card to a different product that had no annual fee. And that turned out to be the golden ticket. The rep didn't think to offer that to me, and so they were going to close the account for me, but it turned out there was some sort of Hilton card that has no annual fee. They were able to convert my card to that. And the reason that that's a really big win is that now I can keep that card open indefinitely. So that was one of the older cards in my portfolio that had been sort of anchoring my average account age. It's been open since 2008, so that's a long time that I've had my card open. And now I can keep that card open for the rest of my life. It's going to keep a nice credit line open, and it's never going to cost me an annual fee. So that's a really big win. When I looked at that, I realized that there was probably a couple of other cards that were getting close to annual fees. I want to run through a couple more calls that I made, and these ones went a little bit different. So I called up Chase Inc. We have their business card, the Plus card, and they offered me a retention challenge. So basically what this means is instead of offering to waive or give me a statement credit for the annual fee, they told me that they would apply to my account an extra 10,000 points if we made $5,000 in purchases within 90 days. This is kind of like a mini sign-up bonus. You don't get the full bonus. These retention bonuses are not really as lucrative as your sign-up bonus, but they're definitely worth it. In this case, I was paying a $95 fee, or rather AJ and I were, because this is a business card that we have. Paying that $95 fee got us 10,000 extra points with a pretty manageable amount of extra spend for our business over the next 3 months. So that's less than a penny per point, and we can definitely use those Chase Ultimate Rewards at a much better value. I think we're averaging around 4 or 5 cents a point on Ultimate Rewards.
Nice spread right there.
Yeah, really big win. And it's important. So that's kind of the math that you want to run is just divide the annual fee by the number of points and multiply by 100 to figure out how many cents per point you're paying there. And if it's going to be less than 2, it's probably a good deal to pay the annual fee and keep the card open. Last but not least, I called Citibank and asked them about my Platinum Select card. And this is an interesting example just because there was absolutely no chance in hell that I was going to cancel this card. That particular product gives us 10% rebate on every mile we redeem with American Airlines. So AJ and I very easily went through 100,000 American Airlines miles this year. And just because we had that card, they deposited an extra 10,000 of those miles back in our account. So that alone makes it worth keeping the card open. But of course, I gave him a call and said I was planning to cancel. And I think this was a brand new person. She sounded so nervous, but she immediately folded the tent and just yep, well, sir, we can give you a $95 statement credit. And we're also going to give you an extra 1,000 points for every month that you spend at least $1,000 on your card. That goes for 16 statement cycles. So that means we've got a possibility of 16,000 extra points that we can earn through Citibank by just putting 1,000 every month on that spend. So that's a card we can work into our Amazon payments and just work $1,000 a month and basically earn 2 points per dollar spent on every transaction up to the first 1,000 for that card. Bottom line, no matter what, give your bank a call, even if the fee's already hit. You want to have that conversation with them. Most banks will give you at least 60 days to get a full refund. So even if they've already charged you the annual fee, it's not too late. Call and threaten to cancel, have a conversation with them, and see what happens. Most of the time, you're going to come out really well. I got to do some editing to clean out some personal information, but I recorded all 3 of those calls. So if you guys are interested, we'll get those posted at some point as well, so you can actually hear what that kind of conversation sounds like.
That's big time, man. That's good stuff. Final piece of news, a really, really sad day for all the folks that frequent the Taipei to LA route. We've got breaking news in that there's going to be no more Hello Kitty planes. So for all those folks flying from Taipei to LA, my condolences. I can only imagine what you're going through right now, but the news is in. No more Hello Kitty planes.
Yeah, EVA Airlines, I'd really like to sit in on a board meeting with EVA Airlines. I'm so curious about what goes on. Even their loyalty program, it's called, I think, Infinity Mileage Lands, which I think takes the cake as far as, they all are pretty stupid when you really think about it, but I think that one takes the cake of just completely obscure frequent flyer program name. Anyways, man, let's tell people how they can get some last minute flights. I'm actually not going to be here for the rest of the episode because AJ was good enough to record this last week when I was out hanging out at the beach. So enjoy that. He's got a ton of great information for you. I'm going to get to doing an interview for next week with some folks that I've met here in Barcelona. I will see you guys soon.
All right, let's get into it. Okay, so as you can imagine, buying flights last minute is really expensive. This is because the airlines are not complete idiots and they know they've got you where they want you. Let's say business, something urgent, you need to get to some meeting. They know that you're going to buy the flight, even if the prices are inflated or gouged, however you want to call it. Another thing could be, a personal emergency, whether you're going to visit a sick family member or something pops up. Either way, the airlines know that you're probably going to go where you're going to go, and you're going to pay a higher price for it, even if you don't want to. Now, on the flip side of that, the award game is a little bit different. So, as you know, operating a flight, those are pretty much fixed costs. They've paid the pilot, the engineers, the fuel, the crew, all of that stuff. So, it really doesn't cost the airlines much to put people in those empty seats. And the way the airlines look at it is they may as well get some miles off their books and put some people in those seats. So they're not really spending any money. They're getting some miles off their books. So that's kind of how the whole last minute thing can actually work. Because typically really high airline prices, you might think that there might not be award availability or even, the possibility to use your miles, but that is definitely not the case. As far as taking advantage of last minute award travel, there's a few things to really be aware of to make sure that whatever stress you've already got on you doesn't even become more. The first thing is close-in booking fees. So these are fees that some airlines charge when you book a flight within a few weeks of departure. An example would be American Airlines and their $75 fee. The next thing to keep in mind and be aware of and understand is award flight holding options. So different airlines allow you to hold your award flight for different lengths. Some people may allow you to hold it for 24 hours. Some people will allow you to hold it for 5 days or whatever. Now, this is really important to know and understand for our next point, which is transfer times for your transferable currency. So an example of this would be Chase points. So you really need to also understand how long it's going to take your Chase points to, say, get to your United flight that you want to book. So you got to understand how long you can hold an award flight for, and then you got to understand if you will be able to transfer your points in time. Now, if you have, the currency that you need. If you're looking to book on American and you got a bunch of American miles, then you can just kind of use the award flight holding option as, some additional flexibility and let you look around for maybe a better itinerary. But it's crucial to understand this if you're going to be transferring points from, Amex or Chase. All right, so now getting into the close-in booking fees. So, like I said, it's not a huge deal if you are booking a big-time flight. If you're spending, over $1,000, then that $75 is negligible in comparison with actually spending the, $1,000, $1,500 for a big trip. But if it is a shorter flight, say like a $300 flight, then the close-in booking fee could play a role in if you should use your miles or just buy a flight. So, to kind of give you the heads up and give you an understanding of which airlines have close-in booking fees and which don't, I'm going to run down a list, and I'm also going to list who these airlines are transfer partners with. So that means if you got points in Amex or Chase or one of those transferable currencies, then you can transfer points to that airline with no close-in booking fees if there are flights available. So starting at the top of the list is Air Canada. They've got no close-in booking fee. They're a transfer partner of Amex and Starwood Preferred Guest. Alaska, no close-in booking fees. They're partners with SPG, Starwood Preferred Guest. Now, American has a $75 close-in booking fee, like I mentioned earlier, and that's within 21 days of departure. So unless you're an AA Elite, you're going to pay that $75. And American is a transfer partner of Starwood Preferred Guest. ANA, All Nippon Airways, no close-in booking fee, transfer partners of Amex and Starwood Preferred Guest. British Airways also has no close-in booking fee, transfer partners with Amex, Chase, and Starwood Preferred Guest. And another thing to keep in mind is British Airways is partnered with American, so it could make sense to use your Avios, those British Airways miles, for last-minute flights as opposed to American because they do not have a close-in booking fee. Delta, no close-in booking fee. They're transfer partners with Amex and Starwood Preferred Guest. Hawaiian Airlines, no close-in booking fee. Transfer partners of Amex and Starwood Preferred Guest as well. JetBlue, no close-in booking fee. Transfer partners with Amex. Singapore Airlines, no close-in booking fee. Partnered with Amex, Chase, Starwood Preferred Guest, and Citi. Southwest, no close-in booking fee. They are transfer partners of Chase. Now United's kind of got a sliding scale for their close-in booking fee. It's $75 for the average Joes with no status, $50 for those with silver, $25 for gold, and none for 1K Global Services Platinum folks. The real transfer partner that you want to work with here is Chase, because that's a 1-to-1 transfer partner where they're also partnered with Starwood Preferred Guest, but that's 2-to-1, so that's really not worth it to, lose half your miles when you transfer them. U.S. Airways, $75 closing booking fee as well, and that is waived for Gold, Platinum, and Chairman's Preferred members. They are a transfer partner of Starwood Preferred Guest. And finally, we've got Virgin America, no closing booking fee, and they are transfer partners with Amex, Chase, and Starwood Preferred Guest. Okay, so now getting on to the taking advantage of those airline hold options. So a couple of the main American carriers would be American Airlines and U.S. Airways. So they both offer 5-day holds on award tickets. Now, it does get a bit more nuanced once we get inside of 2 weeks. So just the rule of thumb in general, American and U.S. Airways will allow you to hold an award flight for up to 5 days, but they both have different rules once you get inside of 2 weeks. So inside of 2 weeks, American Airlines only offers a 1-day hold. So you get 1 day once you're inside of 2 weeks. U.S. Airways, actually, their rules, within 4 days of departure, they will give you 1 day. So U.S. Airways has a little bit more flexibility with American, but outside of 5 days for U.S. Airways and outside of 2 weeks for American, definitely take advantage of holding an award flight. That'll give you time to transfer points, and it'll also just give you, like I said earlier, a chance to look for a better itinerary. Now, there are a few other airlines that do offer holds with award flights. So, first one is Alitalia. They give you 14 days, but this is only for flights operated by Alitalia. Korean gives you 5 days for partner flights and up to 2 days before departure for Korean operated flights. So for the partners, you get 5 days, and for a flight that's actually operated by Korean Airlines, then you get up to 2 days before the flight actually leaves. And the final one is Lufthansa Miles and More. You get 5-day award holds for flights on Asiana, Austrian, Croatia, Ethiopian, Jetware Airways, Lufthansa, and Swiss. So we've got U.S. Airways, American, Alitalia, Korean, and Lufthansa are all airlines that will offer some holds on award flights. Okay, so now that we have an understanding of the closing booking fees and we understand that you can take advantage of some hold options on award flights, if you are going to be transferring your points, you got to know how long it takes. You need to know how much time you need to buy while taking advantage of one of those holds. So what I've got here is actually some really good information from the points guy, where he's compiled some data on the transfer times, and he's tracked the transfer times with the different currencies that you can transfer. So starting off with Chase and Amex, we're going to clump them together because those transfers are generally instantaneous. So you could even get away within that 1-day hold of moving your Chase points, your Amex points to one of the airlines that they transfer to. So like I said, Chase and Amex are typically instantaneous. There are some reports, though, if you're transferring to Singapore Airlines, it sometimes takes a day or two. But excluding Singapore Airlines, you can expect to get an almost instant transfer from Chase and Amex. Now, moving on to Starboard Preferred Guest, this is a little bit longer. The transfer usually takes at least a day, but it's typically under 5. So you could expect, if you've got one of those award flights held for 5 days, if you get right on transferring your Starboard Preferred Guest points, you should be okay with that flight. Finally is Citi, and they're one of the newest transferable partners, and there's just really not enough data to give you a conclusive answer. But the points guy is right from his article. He says, the evidence is there that transfers to Singapore, which is their most valuable partner, are taking 1 or 2 days. So the only information we've got right now is on Citi. Transferring to Singapore, which is a big partner of theirs, is 1 or 2 days. So keep that in mind when you are lining up your award flight hold, and just make sure that you've got enough time and you get on that transfer so you've got the miles in your account so you can book it. Okay, so we've touched on pretty much the best way to go about last-minute award travel. It all revolves around being organized and understanding the rules. Understanding some airlines will impose a $75 fee on you. Some airlines will allow you to hold a flight that could buy you enough time to transfer points. So these are all just little things that you need to keep in mind when you're booking last-minute award travel, because obviously last-minute award travel is not something you want to screw up and be forced to buy a super expensive flight. But if none of the previously mentioned things work out, or there for some weird reason is not award availability, there still are a couple different tips to try to help save you a little bit of money if you're forced to buy one of those last minute flights. If your favorite search engine for flights has failed you, like let's say, a Kayak or a Priceline, what you really want to do is you want to look at the deep discount carriers if you're looking to save money, but do so with the very, very, very stark, clear understanding that you get what you pay for. So hidden fees is, a big way that, the Spirit Airlines of the world, the Ryan Airlines of the world, the Frontier Airlines of the world, it's how they make money. So, if you want to check your bag, you're going to pay for it. If you want to pick your seat, you're going to pay for it. If you want a snack, you're going to pay for it. You just need to be aware that that's kind of their model. They're going to offer the bare bones thing. They're going to get you on a flight and they're going to get you where you're going. But for those additional things, that's kind of how they create some margin for themselves. So if you do go with one of those deep discount carriers like, Spirit, keep in mind that you get what you pay for, and you are going to get nickeled and dimed if you ask for even the most simple things like a snack or to pick where you're actually sitting on an airplane. We've spoken about EasyJet.com before, but if you are looking to get around within Europe, this has been by far and away the cheapest way to get around Europe I have seen. And this is even looking at last minute stuff. Their prices, in my experience, when I've just scouted prices, they haven't spiked too high. I mean, you're looking at saving more money than riding a train. But once again, the same thing when you're on EasyJet.com, when you go through the checkout to buy a flight, I mean, they upsell you on car insurance, they upsell you on travel insurance, flight cancellation insurance. They ask you if you want to stay in this hotel, you say no. They ask you if you want to stay in that hotel. So kind of just the bottom line is just, if you're going to go with one of those deep discount carriers, make up your mind exactly what you want, pay for that, and don't allow them to nickel and dime you for all those other dumbass fees. And finally, one last tip, too, that I just forgot about, and it's something Southwest Airlines has been running TV ads on. I haven't done this myself, but it's definitely worth a shot. If you're looking to get around within the U.S. on a route that Southwest may offer, give a look at booking through their website. They claim to pass on the savings, or some of the savings, to the person flying if they book through their flight. So it kind of makes sense when you consider how many middlemen there are in the flight booking games. If you buy direct, you would think that there would be some cushion there where Southwest could get a bit more fat on their margins, and they could also pass a little bit of that back to the consumer. So if you're in the States, give Southwest Airline a look too. That's the whole crazy like $67 airfare they're advertising. That is when you book through their website. So that would be the final piece of advice if you're looking at saving money on actually paying for a flight. If you are within the U.S. or going to Southwest destinations, which, expand to Mexico and I think a couple other places outside of the U.S. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening this week. If you want to check out the show notes, go to abroaders.com/lastminute. That is all we've got, and we will leave you with some English indie rockers, Alt J, and the song is Breeze Blocks. Travel safe.
Hey Broaders, don't be shy. Hop over to the website and join our email list for exclusive travel hacking content. If you like what we're up to, the best way you can support the show is by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. Lastly, we would love to hear from you, so send your show feedback to Eric or AJ at abroaders.com. We will see you next week.
Please don't go. I need you home. I love you so. I love